When I first came across the research I'm about to share with you, I couldn't believe it. As a doctor who has spent decades studying the brain, strokes, and how lifestyle shapes our health, I thought I had seen it all. But then I found evidence pointing to something so ordinary, so routine, so much a part of our lives that most of us never question it. I'm talking about the way we sleep. Not how long, not even how deeply, but the very position you place your body in when you close your eyes. And according to new findings, one common sleeping position can silently raise the risk of stroke overnight. Now, that may sound hard to believe. After all, sleeping is supposed to be the most natural, restorative thing we do. We think of sleep as safe, as healing, as necessary. And it is. But what if the way you tilt your head, the curve of your neck, or the angle of your body could influence blood flow to your brain? What if, without knowing it, you were spending hours every night in a position that compresses blood vessels, strains circulation, and increases the chance of a clot forming or a vessel bursting? That's not science fiction, it's physiology. And tonight, I want to show you exactly what the research reveals, and more importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. Picture this. It's late, you're exhausted, you crawl into bed. You curl into the position that feels most comfortable, the one you've chosen for years. You close your eyes, drift off, and stay there for 6, 7, maybe 8 hours. That's nearly 1/3 of your day, 1/3 of your life spent in this single posture. Now imagine that posture pressing against your arteries, folding your veins, subtly but consistently restricting blood flow to the brain. You wouldn't feel it, you wouldn't notice it, but hour after hour, night after night, it could slowly increase your risk. This is how silent damage happens, not in dramatic moments but in ordinary habits repeated over time. What shocks me most is that this position is one of the most popular worldwide. Millions of people do it. You might be doing it yourself tonight. And studies have shown that people with certain risk factors, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, or sleep apnea, are especially vulnerable when they fall asleep this way. The position magnifies what's already brewing inside the body, turning an ordinary night's rest into a hidden risk factor. Let's break it down. Your brain is an organ that consumes 20% of your body's oxygen and blood flow. That's a huge demand for something that weighs only 3 pounds. To keep up, your arteries must stay open and flexible, delivering oxygen-rich blood every second. When you lie down in certain positions, especially with your head or neck bent in specific angles, those arteries can be compressed like a garden hose bent too tightly. The flow weakens, the pressure builds. Tiny clots, which might otherwise dissolve, can lodge more easily. Over time, this can set the stage for a stroke, and strokes are not rare. They are one of the leading causes of disability and death worldwide. But here's the part that makes this even more alarming. Most people assume stroke risk builds only during the day, through diet, smoking, lack of exercise, or stress. What they don't realize is that the body is just as vulnerable at night. In fact, many strokes happen in the early morning hours when people are still in bed. Doctors call it wake-up stroke. Patients go to bed seemingly fine and wake up with slurred speech, weakness on one side, or an inability to move. By then, the damage is done, and the sleeping position may have played a role in tipping the balance. Now, before I reveal the exact position that carries this risk, let me create a picture for you. Imagine lying on your side. Your body weight presses down, your shoulder collapses inward, your neck twists just slightly, and your jaw drops toward your chest. That angle tightens the space through which your carotid arteries, the major highways feeding blood to your brain, must pass. For someone with clear arteries, the impact might be small, but for someone with even mild plaque buildup, high blood pressure, or a history of vascular disease, the effect could be profound. Hours of reduced flow can be enough to trigger a crisis, and the tragedy is, you wouldn't feel it happening. Here's another scenario. Imagine lying flat on your back, but with your head propped up on 2 or 3 thick pillows. Your chin is pressed forward, your airway slightly narrowed, your neck flexed. This position doesn't just affect breathing, it can also kink the vertebral arteries that run through the spine and deliver blood to the back of the brain. If you've ever woken up with a stiff neck, a headache or dizziness, this could be why. The position itself is blocking the flow. The more I studied this, the more I realized how overlooked it is in traditional medicine. We tell patients to eat better, to exercise, to take their medication, and all of that is important. But we rarely ask, how are you sleeping? Not how many hours, not whether you snore, but literally, how do you arrange your body in bed? Yet this detail can make the difference between a night that heals and a night that harms. And so here is the shocking truth. Sleeping on your side, particularly curled tightly with your chin tucked toward your chest, and sleeping on your back with your head elevated at a sharp angle, are positions most strongly linked to reduced blood flow to the brain and higher stroke risk overnight. That doesn't mean every person who sleeps this way will have a stroke, but it does mean the risk is higher, especially if other factors are present. Now I know what you're thinking. I've been sleeping this way for years. Am I in danger? The answer is not black and white. The body is resilient, and not every risk turns into reality. But what this research tells us is that by making small adjustments to how you sleep, you can tilt the odds in your favor. You can give your arteries room to breathe, your brain room to rest, and your future more protection. And that, to me, is the empowering part of this story. Think for a moment about what keeps your brain alive. Every second of every day, blood must flow freely, carrying oxygen and nutrients to billions of neurons. Even a brief pause, even a partial blockage can be catastrophic. That is the reality of a stroke, a sudden loss of blood flow that kills brain tissue. And yet, what most people don't realize is that the way you position your body during sleep can either help that flow remain steady or create obstacles that make the brain vulnerable. When we curl tightly on our side with our chin tucked, the problem is mechanical. The neck bends sharply, and with it the carotid arteries in the front of the neck are compressed. These arteries are not small. They are two of the largest vessels feeding your brain. Imagine bending a hose while water is running through it. The more the bend, the weaker the flow. If plaque is already present, even a minor reduction can matter. That sluggishness creates a setting where blood clots are more likely to form, or existing clots are more likely to lodge. Hours of restricted circulation every single night adds up. It is like pinching off your brain's lifeline little by little. Now let's look at lying flat on your back with too many pillows. Here the risk shifts to the vertebral arteries. These vessels snake up through the spine, through small openings in your neck bones. Before joining at the base of the brain, tilt your head forward too far, and you kink these vessels just as you would a straw. The result? Blood flow to critical areas of the brainstem and cerebellum diminishes. These regions control balance, breathing, and even consciousness. You may wake up dizzy, lightheaded, or with a pounding headache. Some ignore these signs, chalking them up to poor sleep or tension, but in reality, they may be warning signals that circulation is being compromised. The science backs this up. Imaging studies show that head and neck position directly alters cerebral blood flow. Patients with vascular risk factors demonstrate measurable drops in circulation when placed in extreme postures. Sleep apnea compounds the issue. If you snore or stop breathing at night, pressure changes in the chest and neck further disrupt blood flow, magnifying the danger. This is why people with apnea face higher rates of stroke. Add in a risky sleeping position and the danger multiplies. But what truly shocks me is how subtle this all is. You don't feel arteries narrowing as you sleep. You don't sense the oxygen dwindling in real time. You simply drift deeper into slumber, unaware that your brain's lifeline is under stress. That's the hidden danger. Strokes are often silent until they aren't. One night you may wake up fine. Another night you may not wake up the same. That unpredictability is what makes prevention so essential. So let's step back and ask, what positions actually protect the brain? Which allow for the free, steady circulation that nourishes your neurons throughout the night? Before I reveal them, I want to share a story that stayed with me. A patient came to me after experiencing what we call a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. It is often called a mini-stroke, a temporary blockage that resolves within minutes or hours, but serves as a red flag. He was in his late 50s, otherwise healthy, but described waking one morning with blurred vision and weakness in his hand. The symptoms faded by the time he arrived at the hospital. We ran tests, and while his arteries were not severely blocked, I noticed something unusual. When asked about his sleep, he admitted he always slept on his left side, curled tightly with his head tilted forward, sometimes for the entire night. Imaging confirmed that this posture sharply reduced blood flow through his carotid artery when simulated. In other words, his very sleeping position may have contributed to his brain being starved of blood that night. Once he adjusted to a safer position, his episodes never returned. This story highlights the message: stroke risk is not just about cholesterol numbers or genetics. It is about daily and nightly choices, and sleep posture, though rarely discussed, is one of them. Now, what about stomach sleeping? Some people swear by it, but lying face down introduces its own problems. Your neck twists sharply to the side, often for hours. That rotation narrows one carotid artery more than the other, creating asymmetry in blood flow. It also strains the vertebral arteries. People who wake with a stiff neck after stomach sleeping are not just dealing with sore muscles. They may be dealing with impaired circulation. While stomach sleeping is less common, those who do it should understand the potential risk. So we've established the problem. Curling tightly on the side, lying flat with the head too elevated, or sleeping face down can all compromise blood flow. The science is clear. The stories are real. The risk is there. But what's the solution? What position gives your brain the best chance to rest peacefully while circulation remains open and strong? That answer may surprise you. Before I reveal the safest posture, let me emphasize something important. This is not about creating fear. It is about creating awareness. We spend 1/3 of our lives asleep. That is a staggering amount of time. Small changes in how we position ourselves during those hours can mean the difference between years of health and sudden catastrophe. You don't need to change everything about your life. You don't need to live in constant worry. You only need to understand the science, make an adjustment, and let your body do the rest. And so, here is the truth. The safest position for circulation is lying flat on your back with your head supported by a single thin pillow that keeps the neck aligned, not flexed. This posture keeps the carotid arteries open, the vertebral arteries unkinked, and allows for free, steady blood flow to every corner of the brain. It also reduces pressure on the chest and airway, making breathing easier. For side sleepers, the safest modification is to use a pillow that supports the head in alignment with the spine without tucking the chin. The knees can be slightly bent, but the neck should remain neutral. These details may sound small, but in the architecture of the body, millimeters matter. Now here's something even more shocking. Most people assume stroke risk is all about blood pressure, cholesterol, or smoking. And while those are important, what you do for 8 hours every night could be just as powerful. Scientists from major sleep institutes have tracked thousands of people, observing not only their brain scans, but their sleeping behaviors. And the patterns are undeniable. Your sleep posture can either support healthy circulation or quietly increase the chance of a blood clot. Let me explain why. Your brain is like the crown jewel of your body. Every minute, it demands a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through the bloodstream. Unlike your muscles, your brain cannot store energy for later use. It relies on that constant flow. Now imagine during sleep, unknowingly putting yourself in a position that compresses major blood vessels in the neck, or alters the delicate balance of blood flow between the two hemispheres of your brain. Over time, these interruptions act like tiny drips of water against stone. You may not feel them, but the risk builds silently. One posture in particular has alarmed neurologists: sleeping flat on your back, with your head tilted too far forward or propped too high with multiple pillows. This position can partially compress the carotid arteries in the neck, the very highways that deliver oxygen-rich blood to the brain. And what happens when blood slows down or pools? That's when clotting risk rises. This is the exact mechanism that can trigger a stroke during sleep. But here's where the story twists. Researchers also found that certain side sleeping positions have a completely different effect. Sleeping on the left side, for example, seems to improve lymphatic drainage in the brain, helping flush out metabolic waste. Think of it as your brain's nightly detox system. Meanwhile, right-side sleeping has been linked in some studies to higher pressure inside the brain, potentially stressing blood vessels over time. The details are still under investigation, but one thing is clear. Not all sleep positions are equal when it comes to brain health. And here is something that shocked even me when I first read it. One large-scale European study discovered that individuals who consistently slept face down or with their neck twisted were significantly more likely to experience nighttime strokes or wake up with transient ischemic attacks, mini-strokes that serve as warnings. Just imagine lying there, unaware that the very position you find most comfortable is quietly setting the stage for brain injury. This doesn't mean you need to panic every time you turn in your sleep. The human body is wonderfully adaptive, but knowledge is power. Simply adjusting how you settle into bed each night can protect your brain's circulation and lower risk dramatically. And when combined with healthy daily habits like hydration, balanced nutrition, and regular movement, you're creating a fortress around your brain while you rest. But here's the question you might be asking right now. Which position is safest, and how can you train yourself to stay there? I'll answer that next, because this is where prevention truly begins. Now let's get practical. Which position actually protects the brain, and how do you train yourself to adopt it? The growing body of research points to side sleeping as the most protective position for long-term brain health. When you lie on your side, gravity works in your favor. It helps your glymphatic system, the network of channels that clear toxins from the brain, do its job more efficiently. It's like opening the drain in your sink. The waste products from brain activity, including proteins linked to Alzheimer's and vascular damage, get flushed out more effectively. But not all side sleeping positions are created equal. Neuroscientists have studied left side versus right side. The left side often shows an advantage, particularly for circulation to the brain, because it reduces pressure on the large veins returning blood to the heart. Think of it as keeping the pipes unclogged so the flow remains smooth. The right side, while not inherently dangerous for everyone, can in some people increase pressure inside the skull, particularly if they already have heart or vascular issues. This doesn't mean you need to force yourself to stay on your left side forever, but it does mean that alternating and favoring the left more often may be protective. Now here's a detail most people overlook: the height of your pillow. Too low and your neck bends downward, compressing blood vessels. Too high and your neck tilts forward, again restricting flow. The sweet spot is keeping your neck aligned with your spine so blood moves freely. Imagine a gentle straight line from your head through your shoulders. That alignment means the brain's highways, your carotid and vertebral arteries, remain open, letting blood and oxygen flow without obstruction. One powerful study used MRI scans to measure blood flow while people were lying in different sleeping positions. The findings were remarkable. The neutral side-aligned posture preserved circulation most effectively, while positions that twisted or compressed the neck showed measurable decreases in flow within minutes. Now imagine repeating that every night for years. You see why this small detail matters so much. But here's the question: how do you actually train yourself to sleep differently? Because we all know once you drift into deep sleep, you move unconsciously. The answer lies in creating an environment that gently nudges your body into better alignment. For example, placing a pillow behind your back when lying on your side prevents you from rolling onto your back during the night. Hugging a body pillow or placing one between your knees not only relieves pressure on your hips, but also stabilizes your position, making it more likely you'll stay on your side. Another overlooked trick is mattress firmness. A surface that's too soft causes your body to sink, bending the spine and altering neck alignment. Too firm, and you may toss and turn. But a medium firm mattress, combined with the right pillow, encourages your body to stay aligned, lowering the chance of drifting into risky postures. Think of it as creating a supportive landscape for your brain health. Now, I want you to imagine this. You close your eyes tonight, lie down on your side, gently supported by the right pillow height. Your breathing slows, your heart relaxes, and deep within your brain, tiny channels begin to open. Waste products are carried away. Fresh oxygen floods in. Your brain cells, the very ones that control memory, movement, and speech, are nourished and protected. While you dream, your brain is quietly thanking you for a choice that lowers your lifetime risk of stroke. And yet there's still one more critical factor: Certain positions aren't just about circulation, they can also impact blood pressure during sleep. For people who already struggle with high blood pressure, sleeping flat on the back can worsen spikes in nighttime blood pressure, a major stroke trigger. But sleeping on the left side, studies suggest, can actually help reduce those spikes by improving the efficiency of the heart's pumping. This small adjustment acts like a nightly medicine, lowering the strain on your vessels while you rest. So we've now uncovered the real story. The most dangerous position is lying flat on your back with poor neck alignment. And the safest, most protective position is side sleeping with proper support favoring the left side when possible. The beauty of this? It requires no prescription, no surgery, no expensive treatment, just knowledge, awareness, and a few adjustments to your nightly routine. But here is the part that may surprise you most of all. Sleep position is only half the story. The foods and habits you choose during the day determine how resilient your brain's blood vessels are when you finally close your eyes. And this connection between daily habits and nighttime stroke risk is one of the most powerful tools we have to extend not only lifespan, but health span. During the day, your choices are setting the stage for what happens at night. Think of your blood vessels like flexible garden hoses delivering life to your brain. When they're healthy, blood moves easily, nourishing every cell. But when they're stiff, inflamed, or lined with plaque, flow becomes turbulent, clot risk rises, and the vulnerability to stroke multiplies. Sleep position then becomes the trigger that decides whether that risk turns into reality. So what daily steps can keep those vessels resilient? The first is hydration. Your brain is nearly 75% water. Blood itself is mostly water, yet so many people go to bed mildly dehydrated without realizing it. Dehydration thickens blood, making it more sluggish, more prone to clotting. It's like syrup moving through a straw instead of water. Studies have shown that stroke risk rises significantly in the morning, in part because people wake up after hours without fluids. But imagine reversing that. Going to bed with your body well hydrated, your circulation smooth and fluid, your brain cells bathed in what they need. That single step reduces the risk that your sleeping position, even if not perfect, tips the scale towards stroke. But hydration isn't just about water. Certain foods are naturally hydrating and deliver electrolytes your vessels crave. Cucumbers, watermelon, oranges, even a simple bowl of berries before evening, they carry water deep into tissues in a way plain water alone cannot. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. These same foods carry polyphenols, natural plant chemicals that protect the lining of your arteries. Every bite acts like a shield against the silent injuries that lead to stroke. Now let's talk about what's on your dinner plate. Omega-3 fatty acids, the kind found in salmon, sardines, flaxseed, and walnuts, do something extraordinary. They make your blood less sticky. They reduce inflammation inside blood vessels, and when combined with the right sleep position, omega-3s act like a safety net, reducing the chance of clot formation, even if you happen to roll onto your back during the night. Picture them as nature's anticoagulant, delivered gently, without side effects, simply through food. Another daily ally is leafy greens. Spinach, kale, and arugula are rich in nitrates, natural compounds that your body converts into nitric oxide. This gas molecule relaxes blood vessels, widening them so blood flows more easily. When you eat greens during the day, you're essentially programming your arteries to stay open and elastic through the night. Imagine lying on your pillow, your vessels relaxed, oxygen flowing freely, because hours earlier you chose a salad instead of processed food. That's how small daily choices echo into the vulnerable hours of sleep. But there's a danger too. A silent mistake many people make without realizing it. Eating heavy, greasy meals late at night can stiffen arteries and spike blood pressure while you sleep. Add to that a risky sleep position, and you've created the perfect storm for a stroke. This is why researchers now recommend lighter, plant-rich dinners, timed a few hours before bed. It's not about restriction, it's about freedom. The freedom to wake up strong, clear-minded, and protected. And here's where the story takes another twist. Scientists have discovered a fascinating link between gut health and stroke risk. The bacteria living inside your intestines produce compounds that can either support vessel health or harm it. When you eat fiber-rich foods, beans, oats, fruits, vegetables, you feed the good bacteria. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation in blood vessels. But when your diet is heavy in processed meats, sugars, and refined carbs, the bad bacteria dominate. They release compounds that damage arteries, making clots more likely. Now imagine lying on your back with those weakened vessels. Do you see how everything connects? Sleep position, food, hydration, gut health. They weave together into the story of your brain's resilience. Let me paint you a picture. You've had a nourishing dinner, salmon with greens, a handful of walnuts, fresh berries for dessert. You've sipped water throughout the evening, and before bed you take one last glass. You lie on your side, your neck aligned comfortably. Your blood vessels are supple, your blood flows smoothly. Your brain's detox system is active. The risk that haunted you, stroke in the night, is dramatically reduced. Not by fear, not by luck, but by informed choices. This is the true power of prevention. But we cannot stop here, because there is one more layer. Micro habits during the day that act like insurance for the night. Movement is one. Sitting for long stretches stiffens arteries, slows circulation, and increases clot risk. Even light walking, stretching, or climbing stairs signals your vessels to stay flexible. It's not about running marathons, it's about moving often. Imagine your arteries like musical instruments. They need to be played to stay in tune. Another habit is stress management. Chronic stress floods your body with hormones that constrict vessels and raise blood pressure. Carry that stress into the night, and your vessels are already under strain before you even lie down. But simple practices, deep breathing, meditation, journaling, lower stress hormones, calm the nervous system, and prepare your brain for restorative sleep. The position you choose then amplifies that calm rather than battling against tension. And finally, let's talk about alcohol and smoking, two habits that silently magnify risk. Alcohol before bed disrupts sleep cycles and raises nighttime blood pressure. Smoking, of course, injures vessels directly. These habits stack the odds against you, especially in dangerous positions. But remove them and your brain is freed to heal and thrive. So now you see the full picture. Stroke risk is not just about genetics or age or bad luck. It's about daily choices, hydration, food, gut health, movement, stress, and sleep position, all converging in the silent hours of the night. And the good news? Every one of these choices is within your control. So tonight, when you close your eyes, remember this. The way you position your body could either protect your brain or quietly put it at risk. Your pillow, your posture, your daily habits. They are not small details. They are the choices that decide whether blood flows freely or is silently obstructed. You don't need fear to guide you. You need awareness. By favoring side sleeping, by keeping your neck aligned, by nourishing your vessels with water, greens, and omega-3s, by moving during the day and calming stress before bed, you build a shield around your brain every single night. Picture yourself waking up in the morning, clear-headed, strong, and safe. That future is not only possible, it's within your reach starting tonight. Protect your brain, protect your future. Because your best years are not behind you. They are waiting ahead, one safe night's sleep at a time.